Hi, I'm Ali Paterson, and welcome to the Fintech Show. The fintech world is evolving in every direction, every day, everywhere. And one thing that becomes clearer with each improvement is that you can't create everything yourself. You can't create everything in-house, and you can't possibly own every great idea because that's just not how business works. So today, we're going to be looking at how collaboration is helping banks to enhance customer propositions and how collaboration is helping banks future-proof their organizations in the present. To find out more, we're very lucky to have Michel André, CIO of Banking Circle, joining me for today's episode. Banking Circle are a fully licensed yet free from legacy systems, and that makes traditional banking slow and expensive. So it'll be very interesting to see what they have to say about speeding up banking for the future. Speaking of CIOs, we're also really lucky to have interviewed Tom de Witte, the CIO of International Markets at KBC. His views are going to be extremely useful to this discussion since KBC have really taken advantage of the fintech revolution in banking. And if that wasn't enough for you, we're also being joined by Jason Wilkinson Brown from TSB. Vodafone has been one of my favourite companies, obviously with the M-Pesa connection, and he's now moved from Vodafone to Starling and is settling in at TSB, a bank with 200 years of legacy. So he can give some great insight into how to drive digital propositions and partnership. So it's been a pretty exciting few years, a lot of disruptions, whether it be Brexit or COVID, a lot of having to adapt quickly. Against these external factors, has that led to a need for financial institutions to open up data and connect in various ways? And has that kind of sped up the whole process as when it comes to partnering with an institution as large as TSB?
Yeah, look, it's a really interesting question. So, has Brexit and coronavirus sort of underpinned the need for banks to partner? I don't think so. I think, financial services and TSB are moving in that direction where we want to work with, the best and brightest companies up and down the country. It sits as a core part of our Do What Matters plan. And I think what COVID in particular has done, has sort of put the rocket fuel underneath it. So, with branches, while still remaining open, being on reduced hours, we've seen a huge migration of customers to our digital services. And, what that then means is that when the customers are now digitally engaged, they then start to follow through on the next stage of the life cycle. So I register the app, I start using the app, I then move on to open banking, I start sharing my open banking data, I start deciding all of those other what those other partnership sort of features and functionalities might be. So we've seen more customers go into the top of the funnel, and off the back of that, the demand has increased. And now, as a bank, we're responding, which is why we've really sort of kicked on with partnerships over the last 12 months.
When speaking with bank executives at the start of 2020, did you find that they were a little bit more reluctant to work with fintechs as the COVID pandemic hit, or was it kind of more business as usual? Or, oh my goodness, we need to actually help. We need to partner more with fintechs.
No, I would say we saw an interest even before COVID, but I would say that the COVID situation has definitely amped up the game. So we're seeing more activity in this space due to cross-border payment and clients expecting more seamless payments and so forth, actually in the wake of COVID. So we have seen an acceleration rather than a deceleration on the request for those kinds of services, partly driven by COVID, I would say. But it was there definitely before COVID as well.
What approach do you think banks need to be looking at, and where do you think they are, taking COVID off the table, in terms of pushing innovation, pushing partnerships, pushing fintechs when it comes to payment innovation in the B2B space?
No, we can see that we have done a research, and we can see that large incumbent banks actually struggle to maintain and cope with competition and providing the clients the services they need, mainly due to the fact that they have partly legacy systems and are not as agile and flexible as if they try to partner up with someone that has that specialist competency and technology to provide those cross-border payment services on behalf of their corporate clients.
How can large organizations without that inbuilt culture really use open banking just as effectively? Is cloud the key to this?
Well, maybe two things to bring a bit perspective in the question, because it's a very good question, specifically because it touches upon technology as a lever to bringing a much broader, I think, like a much better customer experience. And I think one would or should never forget actually that technology is a kind of helping out, bringing new perspective to what one can achieve towards its customers. But as such, it is not enough to actually take full advantage. What it does require at larger institutions is this obsessed customer mentality that really brings a culture inside that we do need to do better than we did yesterday. We need to continue to excel towards our customers. We need to find new ways, better ways to make life much more convenient for our customers. And if that can be done because the technology is evolving and is helping out greatly, then yes, that is the way to go. So I would put it a bit like banks who are neglecting on the cultural side and just take technology for the simple art of technology are not going to see a lot of leverage on it. Yes, I do believe cloud is a huge facilitator of all of this, because if you're an IT professional, for sure many of us will remember the days when we received requests to bring new functionality to customers, and it took us days or weeks to spin up IT infrastructure. In today's world, that is completely unthinkable. We are talking now about minutes and hours maybe to spin up new stuff so that we can easily actually immediately reply to all of our customers' requests and services that are required. The benefits of cloud reach far beyond the simple means of being quick and agile. It's a fantastic answer to many of new business requests. Imagine like a greenfield operation you would like to set up. A decade ago, how to decide on sizing your IT infrastructure. Are you expecting a steep adoption of the service by your customers, prospects? So should you actually foresee a large pool of IT infrastructure and then potentially be hugely disappointed with huge costs if the market isn't as speedy and agile as you would expect it to be? Or would you simply do the other way around, take a more prudent approach and then actually be unable to cope with a massive inflow of unexpected customers? This is where cloud is bringing huge and fantastic answers, because it's so easy to spin up and also spin down if necessary. So the flexibility cloud technology on the IT infrastructure has brought is tremendous. And I think it's providing businesses with a lot of flexibility and good, new, decent, stable technology to realize business plans.
I want to talk a little bit about partnerships and legacy. Do you think that really over the last sort of few months and some of the events, it has allowed a lot of organizations to circumnavigate a lot of legacy infrastructure? And do you think this new version of partnering enables institutions like TSB to really get to grips with their own legacy infrastructure?
So TSB are on a really strong sort of, like most banks in financial services, we're on a really strong cloud transformation platform. So, we've stood up a sort of cloud-based data store, and we stood up our open banking APIs. And having all of that functionality in the cloud actually means it's really easy for us to now sort of stand up premium, private, public APIs where we can start to integrate with some of those partners and do some of those things. I think open banking for me is probably the best way for us to very quickly stand up functionality with customers, and really that's what it was designed for.
We fingers crossed are coming out of the pandemic at the moment. How do you think over the next 12 months banks are looking to collaborate? I mean, do you think there's going to be some, say, a level of consolidation? I'm looking at, say, for example, Visa and Tink, or do you think it's still going to move into that marketplace API-driven ecosystem?
I think we will see an increased interest after the pandemic as banks and other financial institutions actually try to innovate, try to give the clients what they expect, and as you speak, it's this exponential growth of the actual expectations in terms of time and cost. And today you expect everything to be at the click of the button on your phone, and that will become the norm for cross-border payments as well. And to be able to provide that, we are seeing an increased request or pressure for finding partners that can help deliver those kinds of services.
One of the big advantages of the clouds, taking kind of costs to one side, is when looking at KPIs, it allows you to make flexible improvements. Can we talk just a little bit about Banking Circle's work within the cloud space and this ability to be flexible?
Yeah, actually, the primary driver for building something that's cloud-based might actually not be cost. You might hear that a lot, but I think one of the primary drivers is that you can focus and you gain the flexibility since you build things, say, on a higher abstraction level than when you start with your own servers and networks and so forth. And then you can focus on actually building the services on top of your business services, on top of a very flexible, secure, state-of-the-art technology base that you actually have in these cloud environments from the get-go. So you start at a higher level, and that allows you actually to be more flexible and move a bit faster and experiment and take on new technologies and so forth while providing services to your clients.
What can this also do from an operational side of things, for instance, streamlining mergers and acquisitions?
So I think the examples are long, because it's a long list. So in today's world, I think it's a truly a very aggressive competition to fight for the attention of the customer, and to some extent for some of our competitors whatsoever, it's also a fight to stay relevant. Because like in yesterday's world in traditional banking, boards would be extremely concerned on how a branch network or footprint would look like. In today's world, boards are more and more getting concerned, are we having the right traffic towards our mobile app? So things are shifting. And so how to stay relevant in this massive amount that customers are overwhelmed with options for mobile apps. What we tried to do by partnering with fintechs or sometimes setting up our own was to actually broaden up our mobile app and go what we have called beyond banking. And actually try to create from our mobile app for all of our customers a platform that not only helps them in doing their banking and insurance business, but provides add-ons. Add-ons such as being able to buy tickets for public transportation, being able to buy tickets to go to concerts, and to some extent, even as some example, allowing our customers to stay in touch with their favorite football team. So we've developed this platform. It's heavily used in our core markets, and we are currently taking it to the next level, even by adding voice assistance and convenience services to our customers with a digital assistance that we have called Kate.
It does seem, and I may be out of line saying this, but it does seem that on continental Europe, PSD2 and open banking hasn't been fully adopted as it could be, and there's less people are not taking advantage of it as perhaps they could have. I mean, I can sort of tell just like how excited are you, but can we just explore that a bit around opening up of APIs and opening up of data?
Yeah, but also, and we signed the FinTech Pledge for this reason. You've got to augment the organization so that you're ready for that. Yeah. So we've stood up specific partnership proof of concept agreements. We've stood up specific partnership contracts, because the last thing you want as a FinTech of 4 or 5 people is for a bank of TSB size to dump a 500-page contract on your desk and say, get your lawyers to review that. It's just not going to work, and it's just not going to move forward. So we are literally pivoting our organization to make sure that partnerships is going to be a success for both us, our customers, but then crucially for the partners we're working with. So yeah, very, very excited.
Well, that's all we've got time for today's episode of the Fintech Show. I hope you've enjoyed hearing about how we can bring banking up to date. As Michel said at the end, today you expect everything to be at the click of a button on your phone, and that will become the normal for things like cross-border payments. I think our guests today have really shown how banking can and should evolve, and that by increasing partnerships, outsourcing work to specialists, and adopting effective cloud-based solutions, banks can enable a seamless and safe onboarding experience for years to come. So thank you once again to our guests. It's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you to all of our viewers at home. Bye for now.